Hello and welcome to the 5th episode of the Fantasy Brothers podcast. I'm Austin Thomas.
And I'm Connor Thomas.
And this week we will be discussing the COVID outbreaks, along with the Bill O'Brien firing, our weekly picks for the week, and our breakout players and disappointment players. So make sure to stay tuned. Subscribe if you aren't already. Like the video if you enjoy it, and make sure to comment if you have any questions or you want to be showcased in our Q&A section for next week's episode. And yeah, so let's get right on into it and start off with our new news. New news from this week in football. So, first off, we had the Titans versus Steelers game get entirely postponed last week. We had mentioned this earlier in last week's episode of it being pushed back to Monday or Tuesday, but then it was officially postponed and they rescheduled it for week 7, I think it was.
Yes,
yeah, week 7, and they gave the bye week to them on week 4, which is the earliest bye ever. And then along with that, we had the Chiefs versus New England Patriots game get moved from Sunday to Monday. There were doubts that it would be played after Cam Newton and Jordan Ta'amu got the virus, but it ended up getting played. And then just recently, we had both the Raiders and the Patriots get more COVID tests, along with the Titans. So we're not sure how that's going to affect the upcoming schedule. Maybe we'll see more postponements. I don't know if the Titans will be able to, as they still don't have a bye. So we're going to have to see what happens in the Titans case and with the Raiders and the Patriots. So besides that, with all these COVID outbreaks, the NFL has had to restrict the teams even further. The rules were already pretty strict as it was, so it's a surprise that somebody got it. But now that that's happened, they're going to be much stricter on all these rules. So do you think that could play into how the teams are going to fare throughout the season?
Yeah, of course. They're going to be more restricted. They're not going to be able to do much, fun stuff. And I guess they might, I don't know. They might, not be able to, might not be happy in, if they, keep it in a bubble. But I don't know.
Again, new situation before, and so I guess we're just going to have to see how this plays out, along with many other things in the NFL. So, away from the COVID side of things, let's go on into our actual, news segments. So, one of the biggest things was Bill O'Brien getting fired, both the GM and the coach, because he's the same person, but totally different people. Traded away DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson.
Terrible trade.
No.
Still.
Then he started off 0-4. Yes, it was against tough teams, but he still could have beaten them, and he should have. But never happened. He's fired. I think the Texans are going to be better.
Yep, I think the Texans will way better. Deshaun Watson's probably really happy. And yeah, I bet their whole team is happy now. So that's good.
Yeah, very good for morale. So besides that, we got on into a Joe Burrow rookie record that I thought I'd mention here in the new news segment. Joe Burrow has thrown for over 300 yards in 3 consecutive games, which beat the rookie record, I believe.
Yeah, maybe. He's been doing pretty good. But he hasn't won a lot. Well, he won his first game last week, which was good for him. But I don't know. I still don't think they're that good of a team.
I mean, the Bengals, they don't really have an O-line. Their defense isn't the best, so...
They're kind of forced to throw the ball more because their O-line, they can't rush. So, yep. That's
so the good thing, though, is that he hasn't thrown too many interceptions.
Yep, that is surprising, but... Yep.
So... All right, and talking about interceptions, we get on into Dwayne Haskins. He has not started off this season well, and yes, you could blame that on the Washington O-line, but there was plenty of bad decision-making from Dwayne Haskins himself, and he was benched for Kyle Allen
Yep, he's actually the third string now.
Mm-hmm.
With Alex Smith is the backup now, technically. I feel like Haskins didn't really have a chance. The O-line and the weapons around him were terrible. So I still think Dwayne Haskins is a decent quarterback and will do good in any other team. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a sort of a Josh Allen situation. Not Josh Allen, Josh Rosen situation. Rosen is on the Bucks now, but they have Tom Brady. Maybe when Brady retires, though, if he does,
Maybe.
Josh Rosen could get some time there. But again, that's something we'll have to see because that is going to be way in the future.
Yep.
Probably the same with Haskins. So now let's get on into our best and worst guesses from last week. Let's start with our best guess. My best guess was a disappointment tight end. Surprise, surprise, I was right on that. I'm almost always right on the disappointment tight ends, outside of the Mark Andrews week 1. So I had said Jack Doyle was going to fail last week against the Bears, and boy was I right. 1 reception for 12 yards, and that was it.
Yep.
Terrible performance from him.
For my best guess, I said Melvin Gordon was going to do good, and what do you know? He gets 118 yards total and 2 rushing touchdowns, so that's very good.
Very good from him. And on into our worst guesses. This worst guess, I'm glad is a worst guess, because it was Antonio Gibson. I had said that he was going to fail, but against the Ravens, he totally showed out with 46 rushing yards on 13 attempts and a touchdown, with also 4 receptions for 82 yards for a total of 118 yards from scrimmage and a touchdown. So, great performance against the Ravens of all teams. Who could have expected that? Shows that Antonio Gibson is a great player, and if you don't have him on your team, you're missing out.
Yeah, for my worst guess, I said Carlos Hyde was going to do good because I thought Chris Carson was not going to play, but what do you know? Chris Carson plays, and Carlos Hyde didn't play because of his shoulder injury. So, yep, that was just terrible.
But that's something that you could monitor before the game, so
Yep.
That's just what you've got to do with Wednesday guesses.
Yeah.
So now on into our injury situations.
Injury situations around the league.
So injury situations this week weren't that plenty. Very different from many of our other weeks where we've had a long list of injuries. We only had a few injuries to talk about this week, and the problem with that is that they were pretty big injuries.
Yeah.
So I guess let's start off with the good news of the injury situations. Drew Lock is he is 50-50 to come back on Sunday, the Denver Broncos quarterback. He did miss out on practice on Tuesday, but he's looking to return to practice today on Wednesday, and if that happens, that could be very beneficial for this Broncos team, still looking for a spark. And then for the next returning injury, Le'Veon Bell for the Jets. The Jets have been awful this season. Le'Veon probably won't change that, but at least it's Le'Veon Bell, and you
definitely will help.
It will help. They'll probably still lose every game this season, but at least they'll lose by less.
Maybe. Okay.
All right, and on to our next injury. Kenyon Drake with a chest injury left in the fourth quarter of last game. He has not showed up very well this year, and with that, it's looking like Chase Edmonds is going to be getting more time.
Yep.
And Kenyon Drake, he's a good player. He's a great player. He just hasn't showed that this season. Maybe it's got to do with this chest injury that they took him out for, but either way, he's questionable for the game this upcoming Sunday. Then, let's get on into our next injury. We have Noah Fant, who is doubtful to play this week with an ankle injury. Nothing huge, but it might keep him out for Sunday.
Yep, that's a pretty big blow for the Broncos. Fant is a big part of that offense, and losing him will definitely not help them.
Well, it'll help Judy.
Yeah, it will help do the game, yes. And Tim Patrick.
Tim Patrick, too, yeah. Maybe even KJ Hamler if he gets back from injury.
Maybe.
So let's get on into our next injury, which would be Austin Eckler, one of the best fantasy running backs in the league. He got a hamstring injury, and he's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. He was put on the IR. Very big blow for that Chargers team that was running both Eckler and Joshua Kelly out there. And without Eckler as a threat, it's going to really be Kelly and maybe Justin Jackson now. Mm-hmm. You could see Justin Jackson coming up big and taking some of those carries.
Yep, maybe some receptions also. So.
Maybe. We'll have to see about that. Then, for our next one, we have Nick Chubb, who was also put on the IR with an MCL sprain injury. I'm not sure I think it was a sprain. But he's out for several weeks. Even so, the Browns looked great on the ground last game.
300 yards, which was a lot. Yeah. And the Cowboys just suck. The Cowboys suck. Well, their defense sucks. Their offense is good. Defense sucks.
Yeah. But, I mean, what can you do without Nick Chubb? Apparently a lot. Mm-hmm. Apparently a lot. Ernest Johnson taking a lot of carries along with Kareem Hunt. So we'll see how that duo turns out now that Nick Chubb is out. But I can expect that Kareem Hunt is going to be a top 5 running back for the rest of until Nick Chubb is back.
Yeah.
All right, so now on to our next one. We have Stephon Gilmore and Cam Newton, who I talked about earlier. Both of them came down with COVID. Both of them are going to be out for a while. So that is very tough for the New England Patriots, who those might be their 2 best players.
Yeah, definitely.
And, you want to expand on that?
Yeah, Stephon Gilmore was the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. That's a huge blow for the secondary. And they still have the McCourtney twins, but I still think that defense is going to not do that good with Stephon Gilmore out.
Yeah, they have been pretty good to start off this season in their secondary. Stopped a lot of passing yards. They really did keep Mahomes in check on Monday night. Mm-hmm. But without Gilmore here, you never know about that. So now on into our next one, we have O.J. Howard of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's going to the IR with an Achilles tear, and he's probably going to be out for the rest of the season, which could be good news for Gronk. Could be, but it's overall, O.J. Howard had a better year than he's had in the past. Mm-hmm. He'd been more consistent, and he was somebody that you were starting to rely on him. You were like, hey, maybe I could play him, get a good 10 points. But now that he's out, it's very tough on this very promising tight end. So, tough blow for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and tough blow for anyone that had him on your team. So with that, we have ended out our injury situations, and we're going to go on into our breakouts of the week.
Breakout Players of the Week.
So, for our breakouts of the week, this is my favorite segment of the show, let's be honest. It's probably all our fans' favorites too. For my quarterback breakout of the week, I have Ryan Fitzpatrick versus the San Francisco 49ers. Now, everybody expects the 49ers to be great, right? I mean, they're supposed to shut you down on defense. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to be bad. I don't think they're going to shut them down. This Miami team, I think, is going to be able to show that they're not awful. And against this Niners team, which failed against the Eagles, of all teams, that was disappointing. So disappointing for the Niners. Even if they're injured, they should not be losing to that Eagles team. And I think that Miami is going to come over here and Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to lead them.
Okay. For my breakout quarterback, I got Teddy Bridgewater versus Atlanta. He went off last week. He scored like 20, 30 points. Depends what type of scoring you use. But, yeah, he went off last week, and especially now against one of the worst defensive defenses, if not the worst defense. He should do really good this week.
All right. So with that, let's get on into our wide receiver breakouts. My number one wide receiver breakout is Robbie Anderson versus the New York Jets. What a season Robbie Anderson is having. He's been great for the Panthers this year. I think he's going to continue that target share, continue going up. He's going to continue getting those receptions, and he's going to continue getting 100-plus yards and probably a touchdown this week against that battered-up Atlanta Falcons team that has not been able to stop the pass.
Yep. I got Darius Slayton as my breakout wide receiver. He is now with Sterling Shepard out, the three, Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate, and Darius Slayton. Now that Sterling Shepard's been on the IR, I feel like Darius Slayton will get a lot of big plays, and especially against that weak Dallas defense, I feel like Darius Slayton is going to pop off.
All right, and then for my second wide receiver, I've got Christian Kirk versus the New York Jets. I had said Christian Kirk as a breakout last week, so he's a repeat this week. And he didn't do bad. He got a touchdown last week. He didn't get as many targets as I was expecting. But this week they're going up against the Jets, and I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to be good. I also think Christian Kirk is going to be good. I think it's going to be a passing attack this game. I don't think it's going to be Kenyon Drake that catches the ball.
I got Justin Jefferson as my other wide receiver breakout. He's playing against the Seattle Seahawks, who hasn't had that good of a secondary, and I feel like Justin Jefferson is the big play guy. Is the deep threat on that team, and I feel like Kirk will trust him more, especially, and I feel like Justin Jefferson will just do good.
All right. Now on to our running back breakouts of the week. My running back one breakout of the week is Chase Edmonds versus the New York Jets. You heard me saying earlier how Kenyon Drake has not started off well. I don't think he's going to catch the ball. I think it's going to be Chase Edmonds. Surprising. He'll probably take half the carries this week. I would have to guess that maybe more, depending on how serious the Kenyon Drake injury is. But even so, Chase Edmonds has showed he's got talent. Last season he did that whenever, who was on the Cardinals? David Johnson. David Johnson was injured last year. And Chase Edmonds came in relief and showed that he was pretty good. I think Chase Edmonds is going to do pretty well in the carries that he'll get and maybe be involved in the passing game along with Christian Kirk and DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep. I got Kenyon Drake as, if he plays this week, I feel like this will be the week that he pops off and does amazing. But if he doesn't, I got Chase Edmonds, who's the backup, and against the weak Jets defense. The weak Jets whole team is weak, but still, the defense is terrible also. And I feel like this will be a good week for Cardinals running backs.
All right. And then on to my second running back of the week. I have another guy that's been doing great this season in Mike Davis versus the Atlanta Falcons. Mike Davis has come on and replaced Christian McCaffrey as if nobody ever changed spots. I mean, he has been Christian McCaffrey this season. He has gotten the carries, he has gotten the receptions, and he's just going to continue to pop off against this Atlanta defense, which has been awful.
Yep. I got Devonta Freeman versus Dallas. As I said before, Dallas has a terrible defense, and I feel like this week Devonta Freeman will get the bulk of the carries and go have at least one touchdown against this terrible Dallas defense.
All right. Now on to our tight end breakouts of the week. I don't think I have predicted this right once this season. So if you really want some advice, I would not say me. Do not listen to my tight end breakouts of the week until I am right. But I will continue to try. Eventually I will get it. So my tight end breakout of the week this week is going to be Kyle Rudolph versus the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the Vikings have a few good threats for the wide receiver core, but the Seahawks still aren't the best team, and I don't think they're going to let up the pass go deep very easily because That's what they have done. And they're going to want to change something. So they're going to go and try and defend that deep throw, which is going to leave Kyle Rudolph wide open for Kirk Cousins to throw to. So that's why I'm going to have him as my breakout player, tight end of the week.
Okay, for my breakout tight end, I got Jonnu Smith versus Buffalo if they play, first of all. But Jonnu Smith is a big play tight end. He gets a lot. He has like the most 20-plus yard, one of the top 20-plus most yard receptions, like that. But Buffalo has let up a lot of points, at least the one game, to the tight end position. Like you saw with Mike Gesicki, who did good. I feel like Jonnu Smith will do amazing this week. Yeah.
All right. And with that, let's get on into our disappointment players.
Disappointment players.
So, for my disappointment quarterback, I have Derek Carr versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs, I don't think they've allowed more than 21 points to a team the entire season. They have shown that their defense is still as good as it was at the end of last season, which was good. And they're not going to let Derek Carr and that battered Raiders offense do anything. Well, maybe one touchdown maybe one passing touchdown, maybe 220 yards passing. Don't worry about the run game because Derek Carr can't run. So we're fine, and Derek Carr is going to not be fine.
Okay, for my disappointment quarterback, I had Jared Goff versus Washington. I feel like the Rams O-line is not going to hold up to the Washington defensive line. And especially with Chase Young maybe coming back, if he does come back, that would definitely be a terror. Jared Goff's not going to have time to throw the ball, and I feel like Jared Goff isn't going to do that good.
All right, and now on to our wide receiver disappointment players. My disappointment wide receiver of the week is Deontay Johnson versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the reason I say this, the Philadelphia Eagles have some good corners, and they haven't been the best team. Now, I don't think that the Steelers are going to lose just because I think Deontay Johnson is going to be bad. I think this because everyone thinks the Philadelphia Eagles suck, and you're going to think that heading in. I think they're going to show that they're at least adequate, and they're going to be able to contain Deontay Johnson. Maybe not Juju Smith-Schuster, but they're going to be able to contain Deontay Johnson.
Okay, for mine, I have Tyler Boyd versus the Ravens. Ravens have shown they can hold wide receivers into check. And I feel like they will do it this week versus Tyler Boyd. I feel like the Bengals' offensive line is not going to be able to hold up for the Ravens' defense, and I feel like Joe Burrow's not going to be able to throw the ball that much to Tyler Boyd. And especially going against Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters, I don't think Tyler Boyd's going to do that good.
I did really think about putting Tyler Boyd there, but I just couldn't because it's Tyler Boyd. So let's get on into our disappointment running back of the week. Mine, you might find surprising, but it's Joshua Kelly versus the New Orleans Saints. Now, the Saints haven't been great. I don't think they will be great on defense. And I don't think it's going to be Joshua Kelly, though. I think it's going to be Justin Jackson, who's going to show that he's probably going to take over lead back, would be my guess. Joshua Kelly has not done great this season in the tries that he has gotten. He's fumbled the ball a little bit recently, and he might not eventually be that lead back once Eckler's gone. And I think Justin Jackson is going to take over, at least share half the carries with Joshua Kelly this week versus the Saints. Kelly isn't going to do well.
Okay, for my disappointment running back, I have Miles Sanders versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers will have two objectives on defense, and that's going to be hold Miles Sanders in check and stop Zach Ertz. They are the only two players that actually are a threat to Steelers, and I feel like that's going to be the whole objective is to stop them. And Miles Sanders, that's why Miles Sanders is my break. is my disappointment running back.
Now, I do feel like Zach Ertz has not done the best to start the season, so I feel like their main objective is going to be one thing, and that is to stop Miles Sanders. That's the only thing that they need to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get on into our disappointment tight ends of the week. And much different from Connor, I had Jonnu Smith. He had him as a breakout player.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be a total disappointment. I think that's the first time we've had conflicting opinions there. Jonnu Smith, Buffalo has shown that their offense is better than their defense. Their defense is still good. Yes, Mike Gesicki did go off that one game, but can you really expect that? That was probably just it happens. Mike Gesicki is a good player. Jonnu Smith is not as good as Mike Gesicki. The Titans have Derrick Henry that is going to run the ball a lot, and he's going to be able to tear up through that Buffalo defense that hasn't been able to stop the run very well, if I remember. And also they have A.J. Brown. I think he's coming back.
Maybe. He's questionable.
He's questionable. If he comes back, though, they're not going to be throwing to Jonnu Smith nearly as much, and it's still a run-heavy offense. So I don't expect that Jonnu Smith is going to be getting those deep threat passes like he has been, especially if A.J. Brown comes back and against this good Buffalo defense.
Yep. I got Zach Ertz versus Pittsburgh for my disappointment. It should have been obvious from last time, from what I was saying with Miles Sanders. I feel like they are going to copy what San Francisco did last week with double-teaming Zach Ertz, only double-teaming Zach Ertz, and shutting him down. And I feel like they're a good defense, and I feel like they're going to be able to recognize that, and I feel like Zach Ertz won't do that good.
All right. And with that, we're going to head on into our weekly matchups.
Weekly matchups.
So, first of all, our number one weekly matchup, which is Thursday Night Football, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Chicago Bears. Now, for this one, you could think it's going to be close. You might. I kind of think it's going to be close, but I still think it's going to be a touchdown game. I'm going with the Buccaneers here because the Bucs are a good team all around. The Bears have had a light schedule, and then they showed once they faced a good team in the Colts last week are at least a kind of good team in my imagination. And Bears showed that they couldn't do anything on offense. They're not going to be able to do great on offense this week, even though the Bucs aren't as great of a team defensively. But the Bears still aren't going to be able to do much on offense, and that's just the way it's going to work.
Yep, I also have Tampa Bay, but I feel like it will be much closer, especially with Chris Godwin out, and Mike Evans is questionable. But especially since the Chicago offense is not good. It looked awful last week, and especially against Tampa Bay defense, with I think is a lot better than I guess he thinks. But yeah, I feel like Tampa Bay will just destroy them.
All right.
Well, not destroy.
So now on to our Sunday games, or at least hopefully Sunday games. We're going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the Raiders did have a positive test, and I think they broke COVID restrictions last week. I think that was headlines. So we're not sure how that's going to all play out, but it's something that you'll have to watch. But if they play, I'm going the Chiefs here because the Chiefs are still undefeated. They still have Patrick Mahomes. He's facing a much worse defense than what that New England Patriots team was. And yeah, it's not going to be close.
Yeah, I also got the Chiefs. It's not going to be close at all. That defense is just terrible for Las Vegas. And yeah, I think it'll just be a blowout.
All right. Now on to our next game, Carolina versus Atlanta. I have the Falcons winning this one. I think it's going to be a very close game. But I have the Falcons pulling out their first win? Yeah, first win of the season. I don't think they're a bad team. And I think the Panthers are a lot worse than they might have looked. Now, their defense has performed better than they should have. I don't think that's going to stay up. And Atlanta has a great offense. Even with the bad defense and the bad injuries that they've had on defense for the Falcons, their offense is going to be able to carry them past the Panthers.
Yep, I also think Atlanta's going to win this. The Falcons' offense looks amazing. Both their offensive look amazing, and both their defenses look terrible. So I think this will be a very high-scoring game, but I have Atlanta winning in the shootout.
All right. Then the next game, we have the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Baltimore Ravens. This one is one of the worst teams in the league versus one of the best teams in the league. Even if you consider Joe Burrow, I think Joe Burrow is a great quarterback. I think he's good, but just the Bengals aren't. And the Baltimore Ravens are great. So, Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I also got the Ravens. I don't think they're going to be able to stop Lamar and that offense, and I feel like they're not going to be able to get past that defense either. So that's why I think Baltimore's going to win.
If there was one game I would bet on all year, it would be this Bengals versus Baltimore game, Baltimore winning.
Yeah, probably.
All right, so now on to our next game. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Houston Texans. Jaguars have a win. Houston does not. Houston fired their Bill O'Brien, so I'm going Houston here. Houston's going to turn around, take their first win. I think Houston's a good team. I don't think they're bad. They just got so unlucky with that first 4 games. It's unimaginable how tough that schedule was the first 4 weeks. But now they're going to start cruising a little bit better. They're going to start getting their wins. Heck, they might even make the playoffs if they get lucky.
I also have Houston. I feel like the offense is really good and the defense is decent. They're not that good, but Jacksonville's defense isn't good and their offense is mediocre. And yeah, Houston's a better team.
So let's get on into our next game, the Arizona Cardinals versus the New York Jets. I have the Arizona Cardinals here because Jets are the worst team in the NFL, and the Cardinals are a good team in the NFL, probably top 10. It's going to be not close.
Yeah, I got the Cardinals also. The Jets still haven't fired Adam Gase, so that's a big reason.
Yeah, but I also think it's partly to do with the O-line.
Yeah, I know.
So, yeah. All right, yeah. So let's get on into our next game. We have the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. This one I got the Pittsburgh Steelers just because the Steelers are great and have been great this season, and their defense is amazing, and their offense isn't bad.
Yep, I also got that defense insane, and I feel like they're going to be able to shut down Philly.
Mm-hmm. Now on into our next game, we have the Buffalo Bills versus the Tennessee Titans. This one, again, the Titans had positive cases, so if it happens, then I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills winning this one. The Bills' offense has been stellar to start off the year, and their defense is still good. The Titans have a very slow-moving offense. Their defense is hit or miss, and I'm going to say that's a miss today.
Yeah, I also got Buffalo. They're all around a better team than Tennessee is, and I feel like they will do a lot better, and I feel like they will win if they play.
All right, so now on into our next game, the Los Angeles Rams versus the Washington Football Team. This one, I have the Los Angeles Rams simply because the football team is starting Kyle Allen at quarterback, and the Rams have a very good coach in Sean McVay and a good offense. Maybe their defense isn't the best. I mean, maybe he'll get sacked a few times because their O-line isn't great, but I mean, Cooper Kupp. You got Cooper Kupp, you've got Robert Woods, you have Tyler Higbee. It's over.
Yeah, I got the Rams winning this. I feel like Washington will put up a fight, but not really because Kyle Allen is their quarterback, and I feel like Kyle Allen isn't good at all. And yeah, I feel like Kyle Allen is the worst quarterback out of all 3 of them. So, yeah.
So now let's get on into our next game. This one is Miami Dolphins versus the San Francisco 49ers. You might think, yeah, that's going to be the Niners. Me? Nah. I gotta go big or go home. I'm going the Miami Dolphins on this one. Now, I talked to you guys earlier about how this San Francisco 49ers team failed miserably against the Eagles. I think this Miami Dolphins team is better than the Eagles, and I think they've been okay to start off the season. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to carry this team to a win here. Maybe Tua, if he comes in relief, if Ryan Fitzpatrick. But I don't think Tua is going to come in because Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be doing so well. Niners have failed after those injuries, mainly after the injury to Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa's injury has ruined the team. And even though the team should be good, it isn't. So I'm going with Miami here.
I also have Miami. I feel like since Jimmy Garoppolo's out, Miami is just better team. Their defense, they have lost a lot of pieces. The Niners defense has lost a lot of pieces, and I feel like the Miami defense still has their two cornerbacks, but I feel like Miami's just better. So.
Yeah. All right, so let's get on into our next game, the Denver Broncos versus the New England Patriots. Now, if Drew Lock comes back, this could be a lot closer of a game. And also, if Noah Fant is playing, it could be a lot closer of a game. But I'm going with the Patriots here. They shut down Patrick Mahomes for the good part of 3 quarters. If you can do that with Mahomes, you can do that with this battered up offense of the Broncos. And even without Cam Newton, Broncos defense has not done well, and I think they're going to be able to put up more points than the Broncos.
I also have New England winning this. I feel like their defense is just going to destroy their Denver, whose battered up offense is bad.
All right. And now on into one of our later games in the day. We have the Indianapolis Colts versus the Cleveland Browns. For this one, I'm going with the Cleveland Browns here. Colts, I didn't think were going to be a good team entering the season. They've showed that they've got a few wins here. They're not as bad as I thought they would be. But it's still the Browns that they're facing, who scored like 49 last game.
Yeah.
And even without Nick Chubb, they show that he's not the entire team and that they'd be able to win games without him there. And that's just what's going to happen this week. It's going to be the more for sure passes and the run game is going to be able to beat that Indianapolis Colts defense. And the Colts offense isn't great. They showed that against the Bears, basically kicking field goals the entire game to win. The Browns are going to be able to capitalize on that.
Yep, I also have the Browns. They're on a hot streak, sort of. They scored 49 points last week, and I feel like they're going to be hyped up for this game, and I feel like Cleveland will just be better than Indiana.
All right, on to our next game. We have the New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going with the Cowboys here. The Cowboys still have a great offense, even if their defense isn't the best, but the Giants' defense isn't the best either, but they don't have a good offense.
Yeah, I also have Dallas. Dallas's offense is good, their defense is trash. Giants' defense is trash, and their offense is trash. So, 2 trash versus 1 good and 1 bad. I feel like the 1 good and 1 bad will do better.
Yeah. And now on into our Sunday night football. The Minnesota Vikings play the Seattle Seahawks. This one, I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks have Russell Wilson and a great team. The Vikings have an okay team, but they have not started off hot this season. I think that's got to continue.
I also have Seattle. I feel like their offense, Russell Wilson, will just destroy that Minnesota secondary, and I feel like Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf will just destroy them.
All right, and on to our Monday Night Football game, the last game. It is the Los Angeles Chargers versus the New Orleans Saints. This one, I've got the New Orleans Saints. The Saints have failed against the Lions, but they're still the Saints. And even though they didn't do well against the Packers last week, could you really blame them? That was the Packers. You can't, or 2 weeks ago. Who did they play last week? They played they did play the Lions.
Yeah.
I thought I was talking about that. They failed against the Lions. I got my weeks mixed up. They failed against the Lions last week, allowing a lot of points to Matthew Stafford in that offense. It's not great. I'll tell you that. The Saints' defense was supposed to be really good. And Drew Brees is very susceptible to defenses. And I'm going to go with, even though I've just totally battered the Saints there, I'm going with the Saints. I think they're going to bounce back. They're still a good team. And the Chargers have been okay. They lost Austin Eckler. And I don't know, maybe Justin Herbert will do well. He might. He probably will. But I'm still going with the Saints here.
Yeah, I also have the Saints. They are hopefully getting Michael Thomas back, and that will be a huge part of their offense. And they still have Kamara, who's been doing amazing. Drew Brees will definitely pick it up with Michael Thomas back. And the Chargers lost Eckler, which was a big part of their offense, and I don't think Justin Herbert will do amazing versus New Orleans defense.
All right. And with that, that's going to conclude our weekly matchups for this week. So let's head on into Q&As. So we did have one comment in the last video, which was a hot take. So we thought we'd discuss this a little real quick. So the first part of that comment had to do with Sean McVay being the second best offensive coach in the NFL. Now, that is definitely a hot take. So, number one, I would have to go with Andy Reid here as number one. He has been great for the Chiefs. He hasn't done the best this season, but he's shown that he's great offensively. Then a second best offensive coach, I would probably say,
I would say John Harbaugh. The Ravens head coach. I feel like he's really good and works well with the Ravens offense, and I feel like he's better than.
Also, I would have to say probably Matt LaFleur with the Packers. Aaron Rodgers and him have been on the same page this season. Their offense has been explosive. And that's not entirely due to Rodgers. I think that's partly got to do with that's partly got to do with LaFleur and Rodgers working together. And they have been great as a tandem, and I think McVay would probably be a fourth.
I have Pete Carroll over him also.
Ooh, Pete Carroll, yeah. Pete Carroll, he's letting Russ cook, so. Pete Carroll, so probably fifth.
Yeah, maybe, probably.
Yeah, I'd say fifth. I don't know who you're ranking above McVay in that comment, but either way, we've got him as our fifth. So now on into the next part of that hot take, which was Jared Goff is a top 10 quarterback in the league. I have a tough time to go with that one. Because, obviously you have Mahomes, who is the best quarterback in the league. You have Josh Allen, who's been better. You have... Yeah, I'm not gonna say Cam Newton is better. You could say he's better than Cam Newton. Then you've got let's go with Ben Roethlisberger, probably better. He's shown that he's been pretty good. Lamar Jackson, obviously. Then you've got Baker Mayfield.
No,
not Baker. Not Joe either. So we're gonna go with the. Deshaun Watson, obviously better. Then you also have, let's go into the NFC. We have Carson Wentz has not been great this season, so we can keep him there. Then we have the Dak Prescott, because Dak Prescott is good.
Dak Prescott.
Yes, the Dak Prescott. Russell Wilson, 7. Then Kyler Murray, that's 8. Aaron Rodgers, 9. You've got Kirk Cousins, I would say, is worse. Obviously.
I have him 13.
Tracy McSorley. Come on. That's obviously better. Tom Brady, Drew Brees,
I have him.
Matt Ryan. And Matt Ryan. I'd say 2 of those 3 would probably be ranked better than him, so maybe all 3 of them. So we'll say 13. 13th is Jared Goff. So top 10. Little bit pushing it.
Top 15.
But top 15, I could agree with.
Yeah.
All right, and with that, that's going to end this episode. So, with the Q&A out of the way, make sure to comment if you want to be featured on this next episode and have us answer your questions or hot takes or anything you want us to talk about. I think that it's great to have fan interaction. And if you did get this far, please leave a like and subscribe if you aren't already. We really hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you so much for watching this far. And we will have our next episode out next week. So make sure to tune in then, and we will see you later. Peace!